Good morning. Well, it's
Good
morning. It's morning here.
morning, Karen.
As I'm talking to Theresa on this fairly grey morning in England, a little bit rainy, and you might be listening and watching wherever you are, maybe on a sunny spring day. So thank you, Theresa, for agreeing to talk to me for our members' newsletter here and now. And it's wonderful to see you. I met Theresa on a retreat a few years ago, which is one of the great things that our UK Dharma teachers do, is they can facilitate retreats for us, if we ask them nicely and maybe offer them some dana. And so as always, it's really nice to learn a bit more about our different Dharma teachers and what they do and how they got into the practice. So thank you for sharing with us, Theresa. So my first question usually is, which is always interesting to find out, is how did you get into the practice of Plum Village and Thai's teachings?
I think it was probably 20 years ago, or maybe a little bit more. I met Thai's teachings through Janine Williams, a yoga teacher. I joined her yoga class, and she used to call it just beings. And she had become a student of Thai's around that time. And so she brought it into her yoga classes, his teachings, and I don't know whether I think she told us about a retreat that was being held in the West Country soon after I first met the teachings. And it was being led by Sister Annabelle and a Roman Catholic nun. I don't remember her name. And I decided to go on this retreat, but partially because I have a deep Christian background, and I felt that the two practices together would be something I could connect with. So from that time onwards, I have very slowly developed my practice. I think there have been times when I felt I wasn't sure, and I pulled back, and then I understood the advantages of it, and then I probably question it. And this is my habit energy, I suppose, part of my personality, to be quite hesitant and also a bit critical. So it's taken me 20 years to definitely take me 20 years to get to this point.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a good thing to be discerning, and there's a few people in my Sangha, and actually inquiries we get to Plum Village fairly regularly about whether the practice is suitable for Christians, which obviously it has been for you. So could you say something in what way you've been able to, more specifically, you've been able to be inspired in maybe in both directions?
I think by definitely going to Plum Village, and I've been to Plum Village a number of times, and also to the EIAB, possibly at least twice. And I always find the being with the monastics very inspiring. I come away feeling younger and more energized. I think I'm a bit of a I like to feel that they're in control, I suppose. I can sit back and just absorb it. And my experience of being with the monastics is that amazing feeling of being accepted and loved. You know, when one goes to Plum Village, you almost feel that energy all around you. It's quite incredible, and that's something that I struggle with in my own life. That whole thing of, you know, how to love. And I think Thai talks from a Christian point of view. Thai talks when he's in this country. He often talks about Christian ethics. You know, that he talks about God. He talks about. I mean, I think he is to some degree. It's not something he shuts out. So he brings the two together, the two practices together, in the way he talks quite often, and he's written books, Living Buddha, Living Christ, books like that. And I found that a great encouragement. So I don't feel, I had never been in contact with any other Buddhist practice, so I can't speak from my personal experience on this, but I feel his practice is very open. I know many years ago I really was questioning it all, and I sat with the thought, you know, well, what is this for me? What is this with? What can this offer me? And it came to me that it's like an open window. I have begun to feel that the Christian practice, to some extent, as a churchgoer, it's often quite black. You know, the idea that you're a sinner and you have to atone for that, and I know that probably in the modern world that's not expressed in quite the same way, but I suppose that was slightly what I was brought up with. And I suddenly realized that it was a great relief to know that there was something more than that, and that Thai was offering it felt like to me like an open window, and I could walk through this open window or see through it. So I go, I see myself as Christian rather than Buddhist, if you see what I mean, but following a Buddhist path. And I don't attend my local church, which is literally just down the road, very often, partially because I'm hesitant about getting involved in all the community stuff in that direction. Maybe because my time is rather taken up with Thai's practice now.
Yeah.
So that's perhaps some of the background anyway.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful image, the open window. I think there's quite a few famous people in the Christian tradition that explored Buddhism or Zen really as a way to deepen their prayer, or a way to, Thai often says, to enter the kingdom of God, whatever that means to the individual. So it's very beautiful. Thank you. So you're based in Wiltshire. You just reminded me earlier, and you're obviously involved there in your local Sangha, and you're a Dharma teacher, and you're leading retreats for Plum Village, and maybe also the local Sanghas like mine, like you did for ours. And then you mentioned you're active in the Order of Interbeing. So when I first joined my local Sangha, I didn't, I knew about Thich Nhat Hanh, and I knew about the local Sangha because that's where I was going, but then I didn't really know too much about all the sort of different levels of practice, from the 5 mindfulness trainings to the 14, and then there's an order, and then there's monastics. So I got a bit mixed up, and perhaps other people aren't super clear. So it would be really interesting to learn a bit more about what the order of interbeing is and what it does. Order members do.
Well, maybe I speak from my own experience of my path.
Sure.
So in I don't know, the late 90s, I went to a retreat with Thai in I think it was near Nottingham, no, Norwich. And there I received the 5 mindfulness trainings. Again, this was something I waited quite a long time before I did this. And I have to say, like many people, it was a big retreat, and there were something like 100 people receiving the 5 mindfulness trainings. And really, I don't think I'd read the ceremony beforehand, which I always advise people now to do because I think it helps in the Plum Village chanting book. And I really didn't fully understand the ceremony, or I felt like I was just one of 100, and so I didn't find it very. Somehow I wasn't sure whether I'd really done it. So I actually received them, which anybody can do. Again, you don't receive a new name. You know, when you receive the 5 mindfulness trainings, you receive a Dharma name. So some years later, I received them again in one of the Dharma training program retreats, I think. And then, well, somebody once said to me, you receive the 5 mindfulness trainings to some extent for yourself, for your own practice. And then some years later, I began to think about the 14 mindfulness trainings, which is, as it says, 14 rather than 5. But the 5 are very much incorporated in the 14, and anybody can read both of the Plum Village chanting book. Although I think they're slightly updated since then. They're available, I'm sure, on the Plum Village UK website anyway.
Yeah.
Or if not, on the Plum Village website. And for me, the 14 are an extension of the 5, and also they are a deepening of one's practice. And again, somebody said to me, you receive these for other people. In other words, your aspiration then is to offer to others your practice in whatever way you can. It may simply be by the way you are. And when you receive the 14 mindfulness trainings, you receive a brown jacket from, as it were, from Thai, as an outward. I see that as an outward visible sign of my continuation on the path, my deepening my practice by receiving the 14 mindfulness trainings. And both ceremonies are said to be a transmission, and in my experience, they are definitely a transmission. There is definitely a change in people when they receive the 5, but even more so when they receive the 14. And when receiving the 14, you receive a brown jacket, which is not a uniform, it's simply an outward visible sign. But in this country, of course, our culture, we see anything like that as a uniform. So you're a bit inclined to be put on a pedestal and thought to be, so if you misbehave, everybody notices. For instance. They probably notice when you don't, but you know what I mean?
Yes. It does.
So you're a little bit exposed. And particularly at a big retreat, it can be quite onerous because people come up and ask you questions and such. So sometimes it's a joy to take it off and walk around as an ordinary, as we would say, an ordinary human being or an ordinary retreatant. And the order of interbeing was started by Thai in the time of the Vietnamese War. It's an international body. So we call in the UK, we quite often say the UK order of interbeing because each country has a slightly different way of working with it, as far as I understand it. And I think in my perception is our work is to hold the practice for the rest of the community in our country, and also if we're at Plum Village or the UK, we support the monastics if we're on a large retreat. our wife, we're at Plum Village. So when we go to Plum Village or the EIAB, we endeavour to wear our brown jackets at a certain time so the monastics actually know who we are and they can ask us for support.
Yeah.
I was going to say something else now. So in terms of the UK, we have the Order of we have the Community of Interbeing, which is the body that is actually part of the is a charity that is holding the admin, if you like, etc., for all the sanghas in the UK. And the Order of Interbeing is part of the Community of Interbeing in the UK. And we ask all the members to be members of the Community of Interbeing. Whether they are or not is another matter. And so if we endeavor to hold the practice for the sanghas and support them, like supporting people who are trying to start a new sangha if they ask us, I think quite often people don't understand what we're about or why we're there or whatever, and so we're not probably used as much as we might do. Some people are, some people aren't. Many people in the Order of Interbeing are involved in their locality, either in their local sangha very heavily, or in prison work or community work of some sort. So there's a lot of work going on in extended ways. So I think and internationally, every country has an Order of Interbeing, and in this country we have an aspirant process. So people who are aspiring to receive the 14 mindfulness trainings need to understand that is also joining the Order of Interbeing. And we ask now that they are aspirants for 2 years at least before they request receiving the transmission. And there's a handbook to explain the process of, and we ask them to be mentored for 2 years. Maybe repeating myself. So the process is we are mentored for 2 years, and then we can request to receive, if we and our mentors agree, to receive the transmission, and then you receive the brown jacket, and then you are officially a member of the Order of Interbeing. And we work. As in all organizations, there are people who on the outside seem to be the workers and other people who seem to be, but other people are doing other things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work going on, and it very much supports people. Like there are people who work in prisons, in hospitals, in schools, and I think having received the 14 and taken that step, you are very much feel supported by your membership of the Order.
Yeah.
And I think there are also many people in the sanghas who choose not to do that and are equally deep in their practice.
Yes. Yeah.
Does that explain a little bit?
Yes. It explains it really well, and I think it's useful for people to know as well that maybe especially if you apply the teachings in those kinds of social settings, that there's another step you can take after the 5 mindfulness trainings, to perhaps embed. It sounds to me like it would embed it even more, your intention to help, to be an aspiring bodhisattva, kind of compassionate warrior kind of person. Because I guess for a lot of us, it can be, without the sangha or without that kind of support, it can be a bit of a lonely place if we have grown up in a Christian culture or society, or maybe not spiritual at all. Then we might be, or I sometimes feel like I'm a bit like a salmon swimming against the stream, like going against the mainstream. So it sounds really, really wonderful, and yeah, it's good and useful to know why some people have brown jackets and some people don't. But they're clearly not monastics because you've still got your hair. So yeah, it's lay
And
thoughts.
the monastics are also members of the Order of Interbeing. They also receive the 14 before. I think I'm right in saying. Yeah, I'm sure they do. At some point.
Yeah, that would make sense though.
So some of the monastics are order members, some of them are not. But I'm not quite sure. And then they have them. That must be after they take the monastic vows, I think. I need to ask that question now I think about it. And then the Dharmacharyas are all members of the Order of Interbeing for at least, I think it's 7 years, 5 to 7 years before they train to be Dharma teachers, lay Dharma teachers in the UK.
Yeah, so
other countries may do that differently.
So not everyone who takes the 14 is automatically a Dharma teacher.
No, by no means, no.
Yeah, so it's a long journey of learning before you're allowed to go and teach. Yeah.
Well, yeah, some people who have that inclination, I might offer to facilitate, a day of mindfulness or something anyway. And that's fine. I don't think there's any stricter on that. But Dharma teachers, yeah, they. Thai says it takes 10 years to become a Dharma teacher after you've received the lamp, which I'm quite grateful for that because I think, well, anyway, you may want to ask questions about that anyway.
So when you receiving the lamp, is that when you're becoming a Dharmacharya, or is that when you join the order?
No, that is when you become a Dharmacharya, a Dharma teacher, as we call it. And that's yet another transmission, and it's a very powerful ceremony. I received the lamp in Plum Village. I think that's the only place you can do it, from our point of view in the UK anyway, in 2018, and it was, which I think it usually is, was during the 3-week summer retreat, which they have every 2 years.
Wow.
And do you want me to describe that a little bit?
Yeah, that would be lovely.
So the ceremony is, beforehand you're asked to the details about your practice. I don't know, certain information is sent to Plum Village about you before, because a lot of that is about you exchange poems. So you write what's called a gatha, and offer that to Plum Village, and you're offered one back, and you send that in beforehand. So what the way you've expressed yourself is very much part of what you receive back, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So and then you when I received, there were a number. I think it took 2 days for everybody to receive it. There were a number of people from all over the world, all different nationalities. And I received the lamp, and there were 2 monastics every day, and I received the lamp from Sister Annabelle, who many people here know.
Yeah.
And just trying to think, there's a whole, during the ceremony, I offered my gatha, and I received, I can see, you receive a lamp like this.
Oh, wow.
Which actually has oil in it, and you can light it.
Oh, lovely.
So everybody who is a Dharma teacher has one of these.
Oh.
So and it's lit from a lamp that's, the ceremony starts with fantastic Oh, for goodness sake. Trying to think of the word. What happens at the beginning of ceremonies? Oh, lighting the incense.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then the nun who, two monastics, I think one was a brother and one was a sister. So the sister went forward, and there was a tall, big lamp that was already lit. And so she lit from that, the lamp that Sister Annabelle had sitting in front of her, that she lit this from. So it's like
Wow.
the tradition is coming down.
Yeah.
And then I received this amazing garter, which was very much reflecting what I had said and possibly what Sister Annabelle knows of me anyway. And it was ever present, the miracle of life, indestructible, the virtue of love. Being there with the breath for another will reveal the truth of interbeing. So it's an amazing, and somebody kindly took a copy of there were photographs taken and a copy of me receiving it from Sister Annabelle, which I have up on my pin board, which is always a reminder and
very precious.
Holds me solid. Yeah. And I mean, for me, it's a huge commitment, which I ebb and flow with sometimes. I have never been a teacher. I'm married to a teacher, or he's an ex-teacher now, so I know what the sort of expectations are, and it's not in me to teach in that way. So to stand up in front of any number of people, small or large, in a set is really testing. And so I'm sort of developing my own way of offering what I can, which is more what I call a Dharma journey. I think you probably experienced that when I was with your Sangha, and yes. I don't know whether it's okay or not okay, but it's one way of doing it. And so I offer some of my own experience, but I also offer quotes, readings from Thay's works, and occasionally from others that ties in with whatever the subject is. And it's a real stretch for me. I have to spend a lot of time working it out and thinking about it, and probably far too much time. I get really anxious, and then practice makes perfect, they say, but practicing is hard for somebody like me. So, but again, it's a huge privilege, and each step, the 5, the 14, the receiving the lamp, it is. I think one learns more and more of who one is and one's own practice, and every step is beginner's mind, and almost every day is beginner's mind, because you suddenly have these insights and you think, oh, I hadn't thought about that before, or you're reading some of Thay's writings or other people's writings, and you're just always learning. I suppose as we get older, that's the beauty of it, really. Learning never stops.
Yeah. I sometimes think it even increases as I get older.
I think it does.
Well, it's kind of a deeper learning happening when as a girl going to school, I'm learning maths and the alphabet and things like that, which is obviously really useful. But now it's more about the learning for the heart, maybe. Yeah. Oh, it's really wonderful. I really like the idea of teaching or passing on what we've learned through sharing our journeys, and there's a quite a powerful transmission in that in itself, in sharing from ourselves, very sort of.
And if you listen listening to the monastics, that's what they always do, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody like Sister Annabelle, can be quite erudite, but and very deep understanding and learning. But some of the other monastics, they share their story, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, and then it helps us from the point of view of learning from you in the past to think, oh well, we're all human, so we all have this potential.
Exactly.
Sometimes if there's a kind of a professor or a philosophy talking about Buddhist philosophy or Pali texts or something like that, it's not so real somehow. It's not so relevant or embodied. So I think that works incredibly well. I suppose it's authentic. Authenticity is kind of a bit of a buzzword in the spiritual world, but that's the right word, I think. So I really liked what you said just now, that every step is a sort of beginner's mind, is a beginner's step, because I often ask the teachers, oh, is there like one little tip or practice that we can apply really easily to our lives, because it is the practice of applied Buddhism, very specific in our lineage. So that's a really nice one, I think. Every step is a new step. Every moment we're a beginner again. Um, is there anything else that you find really useful that you use in your daily practice, applying in your life? An idea or an actual practice that members might like to try?
I don't think this exactly answers your question, but it just occurs to me that I'm all the time needing to learn not to be too hard on myself. I don't find meditation easy, because I find it easy to sit. I think meditation is very much the crux of our practice, in whatever way. It could be sitting or walking or all the different things we do. I'm quite a driven person. I've come to the conclusion. And so sitting physically still is one thing. I use my sitting mat every morning, but as soon as I sit, my mind decides to take off. And I was recently listening to Pema Chodron, and she was saying actually she has the same thing, and we know how deeply practiced she is. And I thought, oh wow, so maybe I don't have to have any expectations of ever curing that. But it's quite frustrating, and I can sit and then quarter of an hour, I think, I've been here for ages. I think, well, where have I gone? And I've planned da 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 da. And I still give myself a hard time about that. I try not to, but I just long to be one of these people who just sits and the switch goes off and they just get into a really deep place. That doesn't happen very often for me. I sat this morning and I was reading some things, and I thought, okay, so now when I get off this cushion, how am I mindful throughout the day? And I'm going downstairs, not three at a time, but quite fast. And I stopped myself and I thought, no, I don't need. And I always remember Sister Annabelle, who walks so slowly and conserves that energy that way. That's part of the thing. And I thought, no, I need to slow down. And then I probably forgot it when I got to the bottom of the staircase. But, it's like, don't give yourself a hard time, but do what you can. And I don't know, just perhaps we need to just make, the useful thing is to make one thing your focus. I've been attending the course on love that Vari and Terry and Gary have been offering this We've had it's for 4 weeks, and we've had 2 Sundays so far. And I
Mm.
find that really, really helpful, because it's something, the love meditation, I've practiced on and off for some years, but loving myself is complete. I just don't understand. I just can't. Somehow I don't get it, and I don't know how. And yesterday, I just decided to focus on one line in the love meditation. I learned to look at myself with the eyes of understanding and love. And I spent all day on and off repeating this and trying to really go deeper. And I think that's where I thought, what is it about me? And I thought, yeah, I'm really driven. So it's like I'm a bit like a runaway truck, you know, that just through everything. People, impatient, da 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 da. And so maybe it's being aware of yourself, trying to be. I don't think we spend a lot of time really understanding ourselves, and maybe that's where we need to start. And what Thai says, that's where we need to start.
Yeah.
My inclination is to be there for other people, and I think possibly even that is a bit of an ego thing, actually. You know.
Yeah.
So
be a lovely distraction for me.
Yeah, run out. Yeah, exactly.
I
And
don't
then you
have to think about me then. It's easier.
What's going on for me? Well,
yeah.
Don't want to look at it, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know if that offers you much, but it's
Yeah,
something to do with
definitely.
being there for yourself. And then I was listening to Ty the other day, and he said, somebody asked the question, how do I love myself? And he said, you need to start with your body. And I thought that's really helpful. You need to start by loving your body. Your body is you, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. For now.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Theresa. That's been really wonderful, really insightful on many levels, and very informative as well, and a few things to take away there that I'm definitely going to practice in the next couple of days. So thank you so much. And yeah, Theresa is co-facilitating one of the Dharma training retreats. I think it's in October, isn't it?
Yeah, yes. It's
Teacher.
the longer one.
Yeah.
I haven't got the dates in my mind, but you could probably find them.
Yeah, they're on the website and in the newsletters. You can catch Theresa there, or get in touch with any of the Dharma teachers via the general PV UK email if you have any questions about anything that we've spoken about. So goodbye for now.